This is Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle.
Welcome back to Inside the Wolf's Den with your hosts, Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. Today we have a special guest in the house with us. Actually, two of them. Sorry about that. Wes Owens and Will Shantz. They are the founders of Citizen Home Solutions. And guys, I think I've been trying to get you on this podcast for quite some time now. So finally able to do that.
Good to see you, Johnny.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So Wes and Will, can you kind of share maybe separately your bios on, a little bit about yourself?
Wes Owens, co-founder of Citizen Home Solutions, been in the industry, the utility industry for a little bit over 10 years. Will and I started this business back in 2016, so a little over 8.5 years now. Running strong. Prior to this, I was in the mortgage industry, lumber sales, home technology, basically been around just sales and real estate, my whole career for 20 plus years. And then that's where I found this. I have a 10-year-old daughter and a wife and a 99-pound Bernese mountain dog that thinks he's a lap dog. So
Jeez.
Awesome.
So,
how much does he eat? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's got to eat a ton. Yeah. It's gonna be a big grocery bill just for the dog. So.
What about you, Will?
Will Shantz, co-founder of Citizen Home Solutions, obviously. But been in the industry, utilities, obviously, for about 10 years. Wes and myself, obviously, been working with together for a while. Been in the customer service and sales just for the last probably about 20 different years. And on top of that, just an avid traveler. It's kind of come across me for the last 7 years, but visit pretty much about almost all the islands in the Caribbean. So,
where's your favorite place you've ever been so far? Is there one?
I'd say Cayman is up there.
Yeah,
for sure. Curacao, I really liked cliff jumping there. Jumped off a 40-foot cliff there, so it was fun.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. So we have a good friend that she's a big cliff jumper, but she hit a rock or something and completely shattered her leg and all that. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm going to do that anymore. Yeah. So.
No.
The time that I jumped off that 40-foot cliff, I had to see two locals do it first before I was even willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it, I'm like, no, I think it's exactly the thing we just said.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome. So I know, so Will and Wes, that you guys obviously founded Citizen Home Solutions, and I can honestly say that being a client of yours, that takes away all the pain points of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis with utilities and getting those set up, right? Which property managers hate that. So kind of share us a little story about how did you find Citizen Home Solution and kind of what inspired you to start the company?
Sure. So, I mean, we were not the pioneers by any means. There were a few other competitors when we first looked into starting this company. Will and I, it was probably about, I would say probably nine years ago, Will and I decided to raise some capital and start this company. But the little backstory behind this is Will and I were working with a competitor prior to us starting Citizen. And before we decided to really dig in and think that we could build a better mousetrap, what happened was I was at a Keller Williams meeting in Houston, one of the big ones down in the Galleria. I can't remember the exact name, but I presented there that day. And just a real short story is one of the agents that was working under Pete Newbig at the time ran up to me and she's like, "Oh my gosh," she goes, "this sounds amazing." She goes, "I got to have you talk to our co-founder of Empire." And I was like, okay, property management. All right. And so Pete reaches out to me. And this was good. Actually, Will, this is probably 10 years ago, if we want to go back that far, because it's been a while. So Pete reached out to me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, He goes, you're chasing real estate agents who maybe give you 1 or 2 transactions a year. He goes, you need to come over to the single family property management side. And he goes, let me show you guys how to do it. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about, Pete. He goes, just come back down to Houston and come to a NARPA meeting. And he goes, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So basically, Pete basically helped introduce to get us into the industry. And I think we just saw more opportunity. Number one, you get more transactions per company other than just chasing individual real estate agents, loan officers, et cetera. And then 2, I think Will and I really honed down on the pain point of what you property managers go through. And that was the concerning, help of getting utilities set up, and how a lot of the residents need to be handholded to do it. And that's basically how it formed.
Wow.
I didn't know it started with him.
Yeah, this is the first time hearing that story. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just had a question on YouTube. What made you guys start like a partnership? I always question with, you rarely see successful partnerships, or I haven't seen a lot of them, but what makes you guys, this is total off subject from the questions, but like, what was it that made you to like attract each other, thinking that you could start a good partnership? What makes it work, as a good partnership between the two of you? And I'm just curious.
Great question.
For myself, I think Wes and myself are kind of 2 different people. Wes is kind of the person that, like I said, he's out at the conferences, he's out meeting the people, he's out talking to everybody. I personally don't mind actually staying in the office. Not that I won't do it, because at the very beginning I was at all the conferences as well. But I found that we needed to, kind of to divide and conquer and stuff like that. So I ran the operations, Wes ran the external part of the company. And I just happen to be a very analytical, operations driven person. So the 2, I think, just kind of go together. You got somebody that's all about the relationships and everything like that. But then you've got the other person that's all making sure that the wheels on the bus, stay on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Totally.
That's called minutia for us salespeople, right? But to answer your question also, Shawn, we didn't, it was kind of by chance that him and I formed this partnership in the beginning. Yeah. Just a really short story. I don't want to get too down in the weeds, but him and I, like I said, we worked for a competitor. Prior to this, I was working at a mortgage company. And then, Will, what were you doing at that time? Were you working full time as a marketing firm for this company?
Right.
Yeah. So Will and I didn't know each other at this time. And Will and I were both directing business. I was directing home builders and realtors over to the competitor. Will was going out chasing, doing the same thing. And then one day the owner just decided that he needed to restructure our MSAs and tried to force us into signing them, and basically just retroed our commissions back for like 6 months, which completely, like, Will and I just lost it. We have never even talked to each other prior to this, really. So basically he tried to pull one over on us. Will and I, Will called me. He's like, did this happen to you? And I said, yeah, it happened to me too. I was like, what do you want to do about it? So we started looking at options, and a lot of people don't know this, but we started the business. We had to have 6 partners, and we started the business. And I give my hats off to Will because he did most of this, but we started this business with $75,000. That's what we had to start with.
Wow.
So this day and age, probably wouldn't happen.
Right.
You'd probably be out of payroll in about a month. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where it stemmed from. We kind of got forced into this partnership. I wouldn't take anything back for the world, because nobody said partnership's easy, and we've had to figure it out over the years. And that just comes with good communication. We fight like brothers sometimes, but that's part of the relationship of business, right? Everybody's got to get their opinions heard, and you just learn to be a good listener and move forward.
Yeah. Is there one final decision maker? Or do you guys usually able to come to?
Shawn's asking all the tough questions. He's probably asking it selfishly for himself. Just
Will's empowered. So there's 3 of us partners now. It's myself, Will, and we have a third, Lance Taylor. Will pretty much makes all the decisions on the day to day. Anything that has to do with, bigger financial stuff or whatever. Obviously, we all talk about it as a board and we view it as a team, but nobody handcuffs Will to doing. He basically makes a decision, but he's proven over the years how tight he is about, saving money and has the best interest of the company. And so there's a lot of trust there.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, but that's the easy answer. Will, you got anything to add?
No.
Well, no, I love it because partnerships, even just like our partnership in marriage, it takes work, right? There's challenges, no doubt. Yeah. But I've seen your growth for the last, 10 years since I want to say 10 years, maybe. How long have you been in it? 8 years. But it's been a while, right? Yeah. And I've seen your growth since, meeting you guys. So kudos to you guys for all you've done and contributing to the property management industry.
At least you don't have to go home with your partner.
Right.
and especially if you had an argument. Yeah, so.
Sean, my hat's off to you because my wife and I can't even paint a room together. Yeah. That's how bad it is. So kudos to y'all for being able to do this easy. And go home and still be happy.
Definitely not easy, but it's communication, like you said, right? Communication is key.
Yep.
So, guys, what sets Citizen Home Solution apart from maybe other home service companies in the industry?
Well, I think the one thing that really makes us stand out is just the attention to detail and a much more comprehensive approach. Mm-hmm. What we're about doing is eliminating utilities for the resident. Now, a lot of places will go out there and say that they're actually doing this, but they actually don't help the resident with too many of those actual services. They want to go do all the stuff like the internet and stuff like that. But when it comes to the actual electric, water, gas, we are currently working at how can we do all of those for the resident. So, like I said, just a very comprehensive approach. I think that's the one best thing about our service is that there's a lot of residents have a lot of questions. So we're making sure that when they're moving in, that all those questions are answered. And they actually know what is actually happening and what's getting actually taken care of.
Yeah, and that's key for property managers, right? Because, sticking on the phone with these tenants for hours sometimes, answering their questions and knowing what mud district and utility services out there, it's a lot for a property manager. So for us personally, being able to work with you guys and you guys take care of everything for them, that's music to anybody's ears, right?
Wonderful.
Yeah. Talk about the customer service aspect of that. So go maybe a little deeper. I know you do a more comprehensive approach, but then also what does Citizens Home Solution do as far as making sure the customer's satisfied and going that extra mile? And is there things that you guys do internally? Yeah.
Sure. So SOPs, weekly call gradings, constant teachings, trainings, weekly calls. When you're actually taking care of thousands of people and setting up all their utilities, we're literally setting up anywhere from 7,000 to 8,000 utilities per month. Wow. So each of those services, requires them to have, a very dialed in process so that everyone is following the same process. When we first started the company, I'll say that was probably the biggest learning process for myself. Was that, if we didn't put it down on paper and make sure that everyone was on the same page, then it didn't happen the same way every time. It was a very quick learning experience, but obviously where we're at now, we have this so dialed in where we're constantly grading the people, teaching the people, educating them, any new processes, because, these utility providers, they are constantly changing things as well. Mm-hmm. So we have to be able to adapt and evolve to what they're doing as well.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot of utilities.
I would love to hear this next question from both of you, or each of you answer this, but because I think it helps, especially our listeners and what they, we all go through challenges. So we would love to hear from each of you, a challenge that you guys had to face while growing. I don't know, there's probably a magnitude of them, being an entrepreneur, but talk about maybe some of the challenges you guys have had to face while growing Citizens Home Solutions.
I think for me, I'll go first, Will. I think for me, just seeing it over the years, and I think this is any any entrepreneur or any small business or anybody trying to grow a company, I think it all starts. The challenge is always hiring the right people, right? And then also knowing when to let them go when they're not working out.
Yes.
I think that I mean, early on, Will and I didn't know, like, you know, we're new business owners. We didn't know this, but I think we've got our hiring more dialed in than we've ever had before. But I think that's probably been the biggest challenge, I would say, is, you know, the people over the years. And we've had, I mean, you guys know this, we're in business. Let's not act like everybody's hires the perfect amount of people or the right people for the right fit for the right culture, right? It's tough, and you miss, you know, you swing, you know, sometimes, and you get 3 outs, you know, and you just hope the next one's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
how have you overcome? Yeah. How have you overcome that? Like, is there SOPs different?
We started.
Process? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. We that's a great question. And we started using Culture Index, Will, probably 4 years ago.
I think it's longer than that. I think more like 6.
More like 6 years. So we started with that. It was, you know, obviously, I think Brad Larson turned us onto it, and a few other property managers that were using it at the time, because we were using the disc test, but that wasn't really telling us enough. But now you can really dial in on Culture Index, you know, the people's life of their battery, what drives them, if they should be in a spreadsheet, if they should be sales. You know, my favorite one was we had a couple of these in the office. There were daredevils ratings, and those are the ones that you don't want because they tiptoe on the line constantly, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's my short answer for that. But
I never understood in the PM industry, the vendor, Joni's probably going to hate that I say this, but man, they just bounce around the staff. I don't understand that. They're at a new company. Every time I go to a trade show, like they'll be for a different company. I don't understand that.
That's why Shawn doesn't go to trade shows. I'm like, stop.
They seem to move around. There's this, musical wheel of but that's another discussion offline someday. Yeah.
So I have a question.
No, Will's got to.
Oh yeah, Will still got to go.
So I think probably one of the challenges would be just the rapid growth that we had when we first started. Yeah. Because like I said, we were just kind of trying to figure things out. And when we hit this industry, we hit the ground running. And it just exploded, you know. I think, what was it, Wes, back in 2 years on Inc.com, we were like number 4 fastest growing company in the state of Texas. But I think one advantage that we had was that when we first started this company, I was the person who built our CRM. So we actually interviewed some people and they said it was going to take too long. I was like, we don't have that much time. So I learned how to program our CRM, and it's actually, we're getting ready to launch Salesforce, but to this day, that CRM that I built, and obviously it's not the same CRM it was from 8 years ago, but it is still running our business right now.
Wow.
So being able to get in there and easily, when you encounter a problem, you don't just tell people to stop doing something. You create something in the CRM that alters, that stops them from having that same habit or whatever. So that, I mean, I would make it where they could mark a customer completed or something like that, unless they had made sure they had went over every service. Or, I mean, there's just so many instances where I made an alteration in CRM. I mean, I probably got at least 5,000 to 10,000 hours into that thing. It's crazy.
I was going to say, like, because we tried doing that ourselves, and man, creating a CRM was not the easiest for sure. So I can only imagine how many hours you have in that.
What's that been like now that you're going to Salesforce? How has that experience been? And making
I'm still trying to have them teach me how to do Salesforce, because those small little details, I'm not one of those people who likes to wait 2 weeks for some developer to fix a problem that I can fix in 5 minutes. So even though we're making that transition eventually, I still want to know how it works and everything like that. It's just the way my mind works.
Nice. So how do you guys see the future of the home services industry evolving, and what role does Citizens Home Solution play in the future?
I think it's ever changing. a property manager, I read something the other day. It was on a podcast or a quote or whatever it was. It's like, everybody is trying to change the whole industry with AI and technology and all that stuff, right? I don't think that we will ever get fully into a fully automated service, even with ours or even what you guys do. I think it'll get close. But the quote is you have property management, customer experience, you're trying to maximize with a little bit of technology sprinkled in. Mm-hmm. It's not, technology is running your business and then you have the customer, experience aspect of it. Like there's still human elements involved in everything that you guys do. Unfortunately, it's one of those our business is just like your business. It's ugly. You're like, why did we get into this?
Every day.
Nobody wants to get into it.
They're like, why the hell did I do this? But they fall into it. It's what we're doing. But for us, I think our service should be around for a very long time until I tell Will this all the time, and we have conversations about this on other podcasts and stuff like that. But until the government drops the hammer and creates basically a CRM or a database that requires every utility company to abide by one platform, mm-hmm. like it's never going, will never be irrelevant for what we're doing, because there's a human element involved in probably 60 to 80% of utilities that we're still involved in.
So, obviously there's probably tens of thousands of, and especially in Houston, with all the mud districts and everything they have there. That's a whole, I don't even know whose idea what that was, but like you said, there's tens of thousands of providers. And some of these, they manage maybe only 200 to 500 homes or something like that. Yeah. So they're just not that technology forward. There's so many providers that are still done on the phone. They're still doing paper forms that you have to print out, sign, send in. Fax, exactly. You go to fax, you can email. A lot of them have moved on to email. They adapted that. But in person, like you're telling me that I've got to go down there, even though there's this thing called the internet that exists. Not understanding that exactly, but I think it's going to take definitely some time. But what we're doing to adapt to that, because the whole deal is that how can Citizen Home Solutions make the residents' life easier? Mm-hmm. How can we get all those utility orders connected? Now, obviously, just telling them, I think before Citizen existed, I think a lot of the property managers just said, hey, here's the utilities and you go take care of them.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's not the best customer experience.
Maybe happens, maybe doesn't.
Right.
But I know that, the one thing that, Pete said when we first started working with him, and sure a lot of the other PMs say, when you have a team of people that are pushing them to the finish line, and then not just pushing them to get it done, but we're actually getting on a call and explaining, going over everything, and then offering to do it for them. Mm-hmm. There's a reason we have almost 4,000 Google reviews. It's because people love to be taken care of. People, why do you think people go out to restaurants? People go out to restaurants and have a nice steak dinner because they don't want to cook a steak at home. Don't get me wrong. I like to cook a nice steak on my grill and everything like that. But I also like to go to Del Frisco's and have somebody take care of me and wine and dine me. And I think that's the kind of level of service that we're talking about giving and providing is top-notch customer service that people can just, rave about, so.
Yeah. What role can AI do any of that? Will AI be able to, is that a threat?
We're working on some AI stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But just so you guys know, we have a new digital platform that it is being released like right now as we speak, which is going to give people options. So we are well aware that obviously in the industry that not everybody wants to do those phone calls and stuff. Uh-huh. So what we're doing is creating processes so they can actually place their orders online. Now, to that point, if the providers are still done on the phone, we're still having to have certain processes, but we are working on something to eliminate that as well. So what can Citizen do to provide better service to the residents, giving them better options, giving them more transparency of their orders, but also that goes twofold for the property managers because that digital experience now is attaining all of those account numbers, confirmation numbers, utility uploads and stuff, so that you guys, when you have somebody move in, you already have that checkbox checked off that they are ready to move in without you having to get anything from them.
It's amazing. Love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's more of like a, sorry, Sean.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I was going to say it's more or less is the digital platform. You're switching it on to where it's almost mandatory. This is how you set up your utilities, for you guys or another PM. And, I'll choose the word validate is the kind of elaborating on what Will said. It's like, no matter what, you have to go through this process in order to get your utilities set up. But once the utilities are validated and we prove that there's a confirmation number and a account number that's associated with their account, whether it be in one of the MUDs or everything else, the resident has to enter this information in so you know that the house is ready to go and the utilities are out in your name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing, I don't know if we truly explain what, we've talked a lot about it, but look, what you guys actually do as a company. I don't know if we were.
Yeah. So you can,
just address
like dumbing down and how does it,
and is it only for property managers or are you still doing that builders and retail clients? If you could just, speak to that.
So we work with not just property management companies, we work with realtors. Anybody that's moving is our typical customer.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that we're going to set up all their services for them. And the primary customer of that is anybody that's moving into either a new home, whether it be a homeowner or a renter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And what's the incentive for, I get a property manager, I guess, what's the incentive? Yeah. It could be property tenant, or it could be a retail homeowner moving in. What's the advantages for them working with you guys versus them trying to figure it out on their own or shop it on their own?
I think basically, I think the most valuable thing right now is your time,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one is we're going to save them hours of research, holding on the phone, doing all that stuff that you could be using your time better served as hunting for. We even help you with movers now. Closing on your house, that takes a lot of stuff. But, one thing we also do that I pride ourselves in, we pride ourselves in, is that we will actually look at the homeowner's bills, ask them lots of questions to see if maybe there's a better deal for them. Are they paying too much? Especially like in Houston, is deregulated market for energy. So we want to make sure they're getting the best deal, and it's not, right? So we want to make sure that they're conserving their kilowatts. And secondly, a lot of people don't know that new introductory rates or there could be a better deal with another provider out there that's offering rebates, or there could be a faster speed instead of just transferring it. So our agents are trained basically to get in their lives a little bit, ask these questions to formulate, what we can do to better serve them, save them money and time.
That's awesome.
Will, you got anything?
I think you said it all. I think that's
all right. What about existing customers? Can I come to you and
well, I
shop everything or
that? But I also want to get into, so I know this has been a pain point for years for a lot of property managers, right? Where you're probably going to get this question. Anything for the unit turns, right? You have a tenant that moves out. Yeah. My field inspectors have to run down there every time. Do you have anything yet for them?
So are you talking about the turn on of the services between
services?
Right, between services.
So Citizen is full circle, as in we can help the resident, and then we also do have another service. It is paid, but we can turn on the utilities, electric, water, or gas in the property manager's name as well.
Sweet.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about that.
I think you're handling all my pain points then.
One question we have for you guys is, we have a lot of people that are listening that, looking to start their own company, aspiring to be an entrepreneur. What advice would you give them?
I think Wes said it earlier, hiring the right people. And I think that's a point on, because I know when we started Citizen, which it's kind of funny because you're a new company. You're trying to get your feet off the ground. I had a lot of sales experience. I had a lot of customer service experience. And I started just hiring people that I'd worked with at previous jobs and stuff like that. Just didn't have any, it's hard to, you're a new company. You can't really back up that, hey, you can actually come here and make some good money and stuff like that. There was nothing really to stand on and say that there's a good opportunity in front of you. So, but over the years, I think that, we had a lot of, you have people that, don't show up for work. You have people that call out sick nonstop. And I just, I always just kind of let it go, and we never really did anything. And finally we got to a point where it's just like, you know what? Stop holding on to these people. And if they don't want to work, like, why are you holding on to them? I mean, so I'll admit, I was one of those people, I gave people way too many passes. And I think now, because some of those people, after we let them go finally, because I just finally said, you know what, enough is enough. We let them go. And every one of those people, I mean, I still get, just to be honest, 2 days ago, got a text message from somebody that we let go a year ago, and he's still trying to get his job back. I mean, that's just how great it is at Citizen Home Solutions. I mean, we take care of our people. They all want to come back, but I think that, like I said, just people in there as fast as people that want to work. Like I said, the first got a good salesperson in there, a good customer service rep, and everything like that. That was a critical point in the transition and the forward movement of Citizen, for sure.
Yeah.
You do have a good company culture. I've actually witnessed that because I've shown up to one of your team meetings. I think I presented at one point. And I think, Wes, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that too. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is hiring the right people right in the beginning. And then I think number two is, you got to really, for entrepreneurs and people starting their businesses out there, I think you really got to look at yourself, and you got to know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are. Right. And you hire the people that the areas that you're weak in, you hire those people to cover your weaknesses, because you can't do everything, right? And you're not a master of everything. I know pridefully as, it's my business, we can take on anything. I mean, some people can, adapt, but I think the faster that you identify yourself and put your ego aside, that's the main thing I would say, is be able to put your ego aside. I think you will elevate a lot quicker.
Yeah. I agree.
So how do you guys, foster that positive company culture and motivate your team? What's some of the takeaways that you guys do to create that good culture within your company?
I think for me, seeking employee feedback from any of our employees to make sure that their voice is heard. I'll tell you right now, I've probably got some of I can't call them my best ideas, because I think some of them were their best ideas, but giving credit where credit is due. When somebody comes up with a good idea, I'll be the first one. I'm not going to take credit for somebody else. And to this day, I've had salespeople that have came to me and say, "Hey, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we do this way?" They're the person that's on the phone talking to all these people, so they get a lot of good feedback and stuff. So just making sure that we have that open door policy, people are heard, and recognition is given.
Right. Yeah, that's key there.
Right.
So, guys, what is your next? What's Citizens Home Solutions looking to accomplish in the next 5 years, and maybe even beyond that?
I think we, I don't know what our percentage is per doors now. We're probably like 1% of people that are moving, maybe even less. But, I guess the ultimate goal is to be in, 20, 30% of the market. When people are moving, we hear our name and that's who they want to talk to.
Yes.
To make sure they're getting settled in their new home.
Are you guys nationwide? Or is there?
We are.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Cool.
Sweet.
Awesome. Anything individually you're looking to accomplish in the next 5 years?
I think myself, I'm just constantly evolving and creating new things. I'm kind of one of those people that, like, whenever there's a crazy winter storm or something like that, I'm creating new ideas. I think probably some of my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. But, we had a storm here. I don't know if anyone remembers. It was in Texas, but here it was freezing like 10 degrees for like maybe 3 or 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
Snowvid.
Yeah.
I'm a huge beach fan, so my backyard has got all these palm trees, and I had palm trees die and everything like that. But now I have something called like a palm tree jacket that I created, and I've always wanted to push it to the finish line. But basically now my palm trees, when it's 10 degrees outside, are like 60, 70 degrees on the inside of these little jackets that I made for them. So I'm just always constantly coming up with new ideas on how to do things better. It just never stops.
Do you remember telling you that story?
Yeah.
So the only one time that Will actually showed up to a conference, I heard that story as we were walking.
You gotta patent it.
That's what I told Shawn. I was like, wow, that's pretty smart.
Does it work off electric though? What happens if the electric goes out?
We haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Maybe
You should have a generator.
There's very little electricity. So honestly, if you had a generator, you could obviously run it off that. So I'm thinking we probably get some battery packs or something to run it off that as well.
Will the creator. I love it. So one question I have for each of you. So if you were just starting out and could go back in your early 20s, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh my gosh, drink less. Just kidding.
I'm going to say learn to sell. And why do I say that is because it's not just the ability to sell a product, it's the ability to sell yourself. And I think pretty much almost every job out there involves some sort of sales.
100%.
And I think that everything that I learned, I mean, even when I waited tables, you learned how to get people to do or to listen to you and let them let you make the decisions for them almost, in truth.
Love that. The art of persuasion. You try to teach that to our team, even the customer service advisors. I mean, you're at the end of the day, you're selling, right? So 100%.
Wes, what about you?
I'd have to think about this for a second. I don't know if I would change much. I had a very, very hard upbringing, and my whole 20s was a challenge. But, I was in retail for a very long time. I was in sales through the up and down of 2007 when the industry, real estate industry was bad. I was in the lumber industry. But, Will said, learning for our young people and even people now, I mean, you got to learn how to, service your client. And I think the retailers, I worked for both Home Depot and Lowe's for 9 years before I went off on my first sales job. And I think that kind of was the pinnacle of, set me to where I am today, because it helped me get out of my comfort zone. And you actually had to speak, look people in the eye, take their money, help them with whatever. You're constantly engaged with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm very blessed for the path that I've been on. I mean, it's been a long road, for Will and I both. But I would agree with Will. Learn how to sell. Learn how to enhance your customer experience.
Yeah.
And whatever you do.
Love that. Well, I mean, you guys are doing some amazing things, and it's cool to see your guys' growth throughout the years. So, again, kudos to you guys.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for, really helping this whole PM industry, because without you, our jobs would be harder. So thank you for that. But guys, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can either go to our website, citizenhomesolutions.com. Or they can email Victor at citizenhomesolutions.com.
Awesome.
And we'll include this all in the show notes as well. So the links are there and easy to access if anyone would like to get a hold of you.
And if they want to follow you guys personally, any social media or the company?
I see you guys every once in a while on social. When you're not traveling, when you are traveling, I should say.
Yeah, LinkedIn's a good one. Yeah.
LinkedIn's a good one. I'm mainly on Facebook, so Wesley D. Owens is my Facebook.
Okay, awesome. Wes, you up? No,
you mean Will? That was Wes.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Do people get you guys confused, like the West and Will? Like I don't know. Like mix you guys up? Yeah, it's not just me.
People in our organization sometimes will they say W and W, or they call Will Wes and Wes Will. I mean, it's okay. We know what they're talking about.
You know what you're talking about.
Y'all can just feel free to put my email in the notes or anything like that. So
cool. Awesome.
Shantz at citizenhomesolutions.com.
Awesome. We'll put that all in the show notes. We appreciate you guys being here today and sharing your guys' wisdom and anything we can ever do for you guys, please let us know. But thanks again for doing this. So.
Well, thanks for having us.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Well, we'll if you like this, please share it. Otherwise, we'll see y'all next week.
See ya, everyone.
You've been listening to Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. Tons of entrepreneurial podcasts are out there, talking. But Joni and Shawn are living it every single day. Their portfolio now includes many franchises and medium-sized businesses. We talk about the trials and motivators of successfully running a business. Join us again soon for another podcast. But until then, reach out on the website at InsideTheWolfsDen.com, on Facebook at Inside the Wolf's Den, on Instagram at Inside the Wolf Den. We'll see you again soon. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. We'll see you next time.